Ooh, welcome back. Made a bit of a change. Warm up a bit. It's a bit cold here in Brisbane at the moment. Well, if you were over my last video, we were talking about, I was talking about what's reality. One of the things that I noticed, and it's especially prevalent in like more extreme behaviour, is these two opposing realities existing at the same time, at least for them. And it's unbelievably obvious the more extreme in the behaviour. Like it's almost like, it's so prevalent that I remember interacting with this particular person, and like something that happened 5 minutes ago, well, the conversation where there was the opposing reality, this one had happened, and then this one had happened, but they weren't linked at all. Like it was like there was this break, like a break it just defied reality. Like it was like the lid and this pen weren't attached at all. Really, it's quite a challenging behaviour to actually explain, but I called it like two opposing realities at exactly the same time, and it was really confronting because one of the things that's really challenging to deal with is that they'll often say, like, this thing happened, and they'll say that it never did. Like these two opposing realities at the same time. It's not quite lying, like it's a whole nother level above lying, and if you haven't experienced it, it's quite a challenge to get your head around. And they're 100% certain that this particular situation that did happen, like even if it's on camera, never happened. Like it's 100% certainty. And so where I came up with this is two different realities, and it's like this is our first maths, as I was saying. And it's prevalent even in non-extreme behaviour, these two opposing realities. But in some situations, somehow 0 and 1 are equal, because they can occur at exactly the same time. And I apologise to my dog. She thinks she's a giant guard dog. And we need to work out in what situation or what mathematics or like just this is a really great opportunity to discover how we think that has us have these two different realities, two opposing realities exist somewhere. And I remember, hey, just so you guys know, you're currently live on Facebook and so am I. Apologise for that, I just thought I'd sort of yell through the wall. And one of the things that I noticed with my children when they were younger was they played the opposite game. So they would work out two things that were set like different, like so this might be black and this might be white, and it went on from the ages of about 6 to 8. And it's different for different children. And I would notice that they would come around and do that with their friends, and that would often be in relation to a game called Mummies and Daddies, which they play. But they started Mummies and Daddies a little earlier than they started this opposite game. And you might say, like, this is good and this is bad. These two opposing realities. And when we're quite young and we're not very, we're not as developed in our, like, how much information we've got going on in our heads. And it's like at some point that those things essentially turn into a circle, because it's the only way that I've ever been able to work out, the only mathematical way where 0 equals 1. Or 0 and 1 are really, really equal, because if you think about it logically, if this is good and this is bad, and this is, I'm assuming, the height of good and this is the height of bad, if we went from this point to this point, for instance, 0 equals 1, so if this was 1 and this was 0, you would have a situation where you'd go past, this would be, you know, half. You'd go past the other options. But we don't seem to do this. Now, I've noticed this in like interacting with thousands and thousands of people since I've done the work. And we don't do that. We literally go, or these people go, from 0 to 1 instantly. And I find that absolutely fascinating. I think that there's a lot to discover there in that area. I think this, you know, a lot of my research has been around this prevalence of behaviour. Because it was the first time that I'd encountered 0 and 1, this experience of some mathematical semblance. So I'll be back later for the next video, and I'll expand on this a little bit more, because I still haven't quite worked this out, and maybe I'll come back to some other options. But this perplexes me.